What's going on, Commonwealth, and welcome back to another great episode of Bluegrass Soccercast, your home for all things soccer, right here in the beautiful Commonwealth of Kentucky. I'm Mr. Jimmy. That's Mr. John. John,
Hmm?
how are you doing, John?
I'm good. Sorry you cut out there for a second for me.
Yeah, my apologies. I do see that I have quite a weak signal tonight, so I will try and do the best I can. I will mute myself, so if there's an awkward pause, it's because I'm muted. John, man, what a good weekend, right?
You could say that. It was a decent weekend. It was a
It was
cold
good to
weekend
have
here.
soccer back at least, right? Like something to watch.
Yes.
Give us some stuff to talk about. No longer do we have to talk about we have to talk a little bit about preseason still, but we have live action on the field. And that's where I want to start today, John. John, talk to me about before we jump into our topic. Thank you to everybody who's watching on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Make sure that you're following us on all of those platforms so you can continue to stay up to date with all things BGSC this season. John, you were at the match this past weekend in Lexington, a 0-0 draw with Northern Colorado. What was that atmosphere like, sir? Home opener.
Cold. It was very, very cold.
What was the
Very
temperature? Do
cold.
you remember?
41 and windy.
Ooh.
Yeah, not ideal. It's been raining basically all week, so it was very cold, just in general atmosphere.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't help that the game was kind of a snooze fest overall, to
Yeah.
be honest. Um, Lexington looked good. They looked really good, in my opinion. I think it's just the lack of goals had to do with being us so many new guys together. Like we had six brand new guys in our starting 11, and we had eight total, and then two subs that had not played for us previously. So it's just a matter of like chemistry and that sort of thing. I also Colorado was missing a lot of attacking pieces due to injury, and I think they walked into that match uh, going like we're gonna play a low block defensive type thing, and that caught Lexington off guard because I think they were expecting a more high flying NoCo, and they couldn't like they were more prepared for that kind of more even keel match versus having so much possession.
Yeah, and Lexington, despite not having a lot of chances, Cameron Lancaster probably had the best scoring opportunity pretty late in the game. John, from your perspective in the stands, what did you see on that um, attempt there from Lancaster?
It was good right off the post. Delgado made a good dive to force it to the post. Mane couldn't tap it in. Um, what I will say is that it's not a lot of one shot on targets are literally like anything inside the post. So hitting the post does not count as a shot on target. Um,
I
and that sort
forget
of
that.
thing. Yeah, because it's not on target. That's technically off target. Um, and two, a lot of Lexington shots were very close to the goal. They very rarely sent shots like way wide. It's just a matter of them being that hair off of the goal. So yes, they while they had one shot on target, there was a lot of considerably good shots. There was also a lot of considerably good chances into the box that NoCo's defense just kind of cleaned out. So I think this was a very good starting, get your foundation under you type deal of just getting that competitive game into your system for Lexington.
And I
Lancaster
think
looked really good. I was actually surprised to see him with the armband in this match.
so. Didn't we kind of talk about that on one of our shows, or maybe it was another thing that I saw you on, where you had talked about who may wear the armband, and I remember Lancaster wasn't on the list that you had.
He was.
Oh, he was. I thought for some reason you didn't have him on that
No,
list.
they list the club on Wednesday or Thursday released who the captains were, which is Amal Knight, Jorge Corrales, and Cameron Lancaster. And I put out a poll. Who do
Yeah,
you think's going to
that's
get more people leaned Amal Knight or Jorge Corrales than Lancaster? I personally leaned Corrales because he's so experienced, a little more experienced than Lancaster. Um, and I am pro goalie captains, but I also understand coaches tend to prefer their captains to be in the outfield. So that's kind of where my lean was towards Corrales. But Lancaster getting it, I think, is a good sign of his role here, that he is possibly stepping up to be a leader more here than maybe say he was at Lou City. I know he was the leader at Lou City and he did wear the captain's armband occasionally there, but that was more like more Del Piccolo wearing it, more Owenby type deal than Lancaster. I feel like feels like he's like in that heat, especially getting into his first game. Maybe that shows that he's like viewed as the main guy now.
Yeah, and it definitely shows from Coach Powell's perspective that he is in like the top tier of the trust tree, right? Like from an organizational standpoint, that's who they see as a leader on the field. I will be very interested to see that continue the season. Does he get multiple matches, and the matches that he doesn't get it, or that's when Emil Knight or some of the other folks wear it, or how that's going to play out?
When he came off the field, it went to Corrales. He got subbed off late in like I want to say the 85th minute, and then he gave it to Corrales.
So maybe they'll just kind of pass it off, and then when matches where one of them doesn't play, maybe they'll pass it to Knight at that point.
Maybe it could be Knight is considered a captain. It's just Powell prefers an outfield person to wear the armband because there's a lot for people that don't know. There's a lot of rules when it comes to wearing the armband. It's not just like just giving someone the captaincy. That's like technically by rule, that's the only person supposed to talk to the ref. And it's hard sometimes to have
Supposed
the
to,
keeper.
but we all see
Well,
100 people, going up to officials in matches.
yeah, they go up to it, but if the official tells you to back off, you're supposed to. Where the captain is allowed to, by like rule, is allowed to go like, "What's up?" Versus like the other someone who's not a captain can't like. The ref doesn't have to talk to them. They don't have to. The ref technically does have to talk to the captain. Like if the captain approaches them, the ref has to at least like provide an explanation or something like that. It doesn't have to be quick. It doesn't have to be in depth. They can literally go, "He hit him," and that can be it. Whereas versus other people, not so much. They don't. Technically, a ref can ignore them completely.
And I think even sometimes I think some of the officials just ignore everyone. It's like they'll give their one word answer, like you said, like he hit him, etc., and that's it, and they move on to the next thing. Um, excuse me, I had a moment where I just about died there. I thought, when you're looking at the future matches, do you think Lancaster will continue to start with the armband, or do you think they'll rotate it around?
I think we'll see when it comes to Chattanooga. Honestly, this weekend or on Friday, I think that will really just determine how it's viewed because it could be just it was a one game type deal to see how they did with Lancaster up top or as the captain, or it could be he is the guy. Um, so we'll just see.
So I'm guessing Lancaster walked in at some point and he was like, "No, I am the captain now."
Probably not, but okay.
Can't even remember what movie that was from.
It's from Captain Phillips.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, I remember that. I remember what it was about. I just didn't remember the title. Didn't
And that
Tom
guy
Hanks?
is like a mall kiosk phone salesman.
Dang.
They got the like actor that said that because they originally just wanted like actors of Somali descent, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like in the mall area where he did it, and I guess he like had like improv that line or something like that.
It's a heck of an ad lib right there. That's a historically great line. from any film, movie, or TV production. But John, back to the field. I do want to discuss Emil Knight because I think he played a really pivotal role in the game on Saturday, securing the shutout for Lexington. How was his performance, or how does his performance set a good positive tone for the rest of the season? Because to me, if they can continue to get that kind of a performance out of him, this team is a lock for the playoffs, maybe even can push upwards to a 2-3 seed kind of a situation.
First, they're a top 4 team. You need to stop with this like
two or three. I've
you
moved
said
them up.
you said could push for the playoffs. I am telling you,
Until they do it.
They are in the playoffs right now, sir.
One game in. Inter Miami is at
counts.
the top of the Eastern Conference in MLS when we're tied with like 10 people
No,
and 10 teams for the number 1 seed.
Inter Miami is not the top of the.
I literally saw it yesterday. There was like a bunch of people that had 7.
Yeah, and then you lost. Yeah, okay,
Whatever.
They are top by
boom
goal difference.
Eat it.
That's it.
Eat it, Orlando.
That's all it is goal difference.
Thanks, Orlando.
A bunch of people are tied on points. Anyways, and that's solely because of one game, if we're honest here. Anyways, Lexington is a top 4 team. Just given the other 2 matches that went on, seeing Tormenta, seeing Spokane, which Spokane could be a sneaky borderline playoff team. Same kind of with Fuego, but that's the thing, that those 2 are borderline. Tormenta, I do not see being a playoff team. Lexington is a playoff team. They are a top 8 team at least. So the argument that they could sneak in or just get into the playoffs would be a failure of this roster completely.
Wow, that's a strong take from you. You don't take many strong takes like that.
Because you keep saying like they're going to sneak in. It's like, have you seen the roster? Have you really looked at what they've built and what the rest of the league is?
There's no doubt. They've got a talented roster, much better roster than they had last year. But can they consistently put it together and get points?
Yes, the games still have to be played, but who can't? What about the other teams? Is there other teams you think can do that better?
No.
Exactly. So then can they sneak in? If there's no other teams you think can do it better right now, then that argument of can they sneak in, it doesn't exist right now. They should be in the playoffs come end of the year. But that is 21 matches away, or league matches.
Right. We have a long way to go.
I do think they will. They looked very aggressive, running a 3-5-2, which is very similar to what they ran last year, but it was on attack. It was almost a 2-4-4. I'm not really sure about that top half, if that really was it, or that was just due to Noco playing a high back line kind of thing. But they look good. A lot of players look good. It was a lot of very good individual performances. I think it's a matter of chemistry coming together for a lot of these guys. They can definitely, I think they can take it to the rest of the league right now, given what I've seen elsewhere so far. I've only seen 5 other teams, but they can definitely take it to the rest of the league.
I would say some of their biggest competition this year. I think One Knox pretty good, but I don't think they're going to push for the top spots in the league. I think Forward Madison
is where One Knox has a question of where goals are going to come from still. They beefed up that defense. They're talented. They have the question where the goals. Knoxville has the biggest yo-yo predictions. Some people have them top 5. Some people have them getting the wooden spoon. They are literally the club that we need to see if they have an attack.
Wooden spoon?
Yeah. Because they don't have – the question is where are goals going to come from? Great. You tie every game 1-1 or 0-0. That only gets you 22 points.
Well, who knows how many points they may need to make the playoffs. Probably more than that, but
Lexington had like 34 won last year in 9th.
Mm.
Granted,
significantly more than that.
Granted, that was a 32 team or a 32 game league versus a 22 game league. So yes, you could see that number be a little smaller, but that would require a bunch of other teams to not win a lot, because you can win 4 games and be 10 points off that.
Right.
At 22. So that's like really bad.
I think Richmond and Tormenta also have some good rosters this year. I think Omaha could do some stuff, but I'm not for sure. No, I have not watched Tormenta. I've seen some of their additions, but
go watch Tormenta and get back to me.
Well,
Tormenta, honestly, after watching that game, they shouldn't panic yet, but they are now my new favorites for the Winspan.
And then the top
they
two,
lost the game where they had 67% possession.
I mean, but possession doesn't lead to goals directly. I mean, heck, Inter Miami had more of the possession against Montreal this weekend, but they didn't win.
I'm just saying. They got that goal. Fuego would have won that shutout if they were a little more in shape. They got Tormenta got that one goal because Fuego were gas, because they were all gas, no breaks in that game.
So then the only other two teams that I think really can push for the top, we've talked a little bit about Northern Colorado, but I think they've got a lot of injuries right now, as you mentioned earlier. But Forward Madison and Fuego both look like they could be top contenders in the mix with Lexington and Northern Colorado.
No, Fuego has a lot of inexperienced guys. They can be. I think
they're talented.
I think they'll be. We need to see them against a top team.
Fair.
They play Tormenta, like that sort of thing. Madison, yes, Madison is a heavy favorite as another Shield possible winner. Omaha is up there. And I would say Chattanooga is up there as well.
The Lame Wolves.
It's the Sad Wolves. Eastridge Sad Wolves is what we call
them. Sad Wolves, Lame Wolves, stealing other people's logo wolves.
They didn't steal a logo, it's a naming.
Anyways, bring it, Chattanooga. Pulling back to continue talking about Lexington, though, John, I want to talk about that possession again. Lexington had over 61.4% of the possession in the match, as well as they had the higher expected goal totals from the match. Do you think that's going to be pretty consistent this season with the team, or do you think that that was just a tactical advantage they had against Northern Colorado?
I don't know what just happened to my camera.
Oh no!
But why is it outputting to that?
John, I'll put you in the weight room and let you kind of sort that out, okay?
All right.
While John is sorting that out, I do think that Lexington will continue to have this style of possession where they continue to push forward and they continue to get the majority of the possession. I really was impressed with their ability to continue to connect passes and to continue to hold on to possession throughout that match. Now, I do think moving forward, and welcome back, John, the question still stands, will Lexington be able to keep that much possession in the majority of their matches? I'm not for sure, but I definitely know against some competition they will.
That possession was by design, by NOCO's thing. In my eyes, they were playing up very. Part of it was our counter and us sniffing out or stopping a lot of NOCO's attack, but a lot of that was NOCO being so defensive was why we had such a high possession rate. It was NOCO was letting that happen, and they were purposely letting that happen type of deal. They were not a lot of their clearances, they were sending the ball down the field. They were trying counters, but it was a lot of just getting the ball out of there. So, and they applied what Yogi from Walking 90 considered the Jordan rules on the youth, where it was like if he went into the box, they just kind of collapsed on him and kind of forced stuff out wide, which worked in this match. Um, it's honestly just chemistry. Lexington needs to get better chemistry, which will happen with time, and it's the first match. It was cold. We'll see what happens come Friday. It really is what the thing is, where I'm at right now.
My mic was muted. I told you all it would get me at some point. So, John, there were several newcomers also that had some impact on this game. Corrales, Mendez, and so many others. Talk to us about how you think these new additions will continue to impact the team's dynamic, because I think the core, Lancaster and Knight on the opposite ends, I think they're going to continue to lead the team. But what about the in-between players?
I'll say this: Lancaster helps with our defense some, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's leading the attack. It still seems like Tate and Yankum were very crucial in doing the charge, and it still seems the attack runs through the youth, where Lancaster has now become the free kick taker, as well as maybe just a final service type ball. Maybe not necessarily the attack runs through them, where that's more the midfield and Tate and Nico Brown and Yannick Yankum, everyone looks really good. Jorge Corrales was killer. Mendez was stellar, good pairing with Fox in the center back duo. They got some good chemistry. They still need to get a little better. Caputo was so solid. Caputo was solid to a point where you didn't really notice him, which is kind of what you want out of a CDM sometimes, is you don't want to be noticing them sometimes. Like, he did such a solid job that, like, you weren't concerned over him, but you weren't, like, he didn't do anything stellar. So I think Caputo is who I want to see like more of. But he still did a solid job.
I keep forgetting that I'm muted and I have to like panic and click over to it. So, John, these two teams will meet again in September. How do you feel like that will go? Because I don't think it'll be very similar. I think Colorado has too many different players that should be in. Who knows where Lexington is at roster-wise? At that point, maybe they've added some players. Do you think you'll take anything from this match in the rematch in September?
No. Yeah, it's
short and simple.
It's September. That is so far away from now. That's not even a concern. Like, I'll look into it and see some stuff, but that's like so far away. Like, these teams could be completely different by then.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good that they got the draw, they got the points, started out the season on a positive note here. But I think moving forward, there's nothing to really take from this that would affect a match in September. There's just too many variables. But John, go for it. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. I heard like a hiss. My bad. With that out of the way, let's move over to Louisville. Lou City had a win this past weekend over USL League One side, one Knox. Wilson Harris was standout, stellar performance. He played such a critical role in getting the 2 goals for this team to continue to push this preseason, netting them their 5th win of the off season. Only that one loss to Pittsburgh Riverhounds this off season, and Wilson Harris was the main attacking effort this off season or preseason. Jeez, John, talk to me about Harrison's performance, as well as how do you think that will translate once the regular season starts?
I mean, it looks good on paper. They didn't broadcast this, so I can't really speak onto how it looked. This thing, I don't like going off of what stats say. Like I can go off of it, but it's more of an aid to me to what I see versus like solely basing my argument off of reading stats. And so yeah, it's really good that um, Harris had these contributions. It's probably good for his momentum going into a game against El Paso this coming weekend. However, I will have to see how these chances were. They could have been slop. They could have been stellar. Like I said, I wasn't there. I did find it interesting that both sides wore their kits in this one. From the pictures I've seen, like Knoxville was in their full away kit. Lucity was in their new home kit,
Yeah, the new
which you really
purple
don't see
sound
in
wave.
preseason. You don't really see in preseason. Um, so it was interesting, but we'll see. Lucity had a very good preseason. We'll see how that translates into games um, against El Paso this weekend in particular. We'll also see if they jinx themselves by going back to the gold hoops.
I've seen a little bit of chatter about that on the old X platform. We're going to talk about their kits here in just a moment. John, the match wasn't without controversy. On the lone one Knox goal, he appeared, and Coach Cruz believed very strongly to be offside. I haven't seen it. I don't really have a commentary. I did just want to briefly address it on the show here because that could have had a big impact on the momentum of the game. But Wilson Harris was able to lift them with another goal to continue them on to the win. John, did you hear or see anything from that moment this weekend? No. Yeah.
Again, it's preseason.
There's
People
no
don't
video.
like Cruz. Coach Cruz has said similar things about the match against Lexington. It's preseason. It really doesn't mean anything.
Well, and especially the match against Lexington, like that was such a fly by the seat of your pants. Like, yes, there were officials, but like, what were they doing? Like, there was no major calls. Both teams in that match were still filling each other out. Honestly, I really feel like this. Go for it.
I don't personally. I don't know of any coaches or players that go full hard in preseason. Some will, like one's trying to prove themselves, but a lot, especially this close, both Knoxville and Lou City have games this weekend. I would not have expected them to be like they probably played it at 75%, but it was at 75%. It wasn't at like going full force, full on because these games ultimately do not matter. But
Agreed.
if you do a little too hard, you have what the risk of doing so did to Owenby.
Yeah, and that was going to be where I was going to go next. Brian Owenby did pick up a significant looking injury. As far as I have seen, I haven't seen exactly what the diagnosis was. I know our friend and former guest Benton over at Vamos Marauders was keeping us all updated. I don't think I've seen anything from him. I'm frantically trying to see if he has any updates on X. Challenged the ball against one Knox when two players collided. Went down for quite a bit of time. Had to get help off the pitch, but that's about all I got.
All I can say is, does this affect Blue City like it did last year? Does Owenby going down without Lancaster now, without Del Piccolo?
Mm-hmm.
How much of effect does this have on them?
Well, isn't Del Piccolo on the coaching staff for the youth academy?
What does that have to do on the field?
Easily sign him, bring him back, get him
He's
back.
retired. The man's retired.
You can unretire at any point. Ask Tom Brady.
Tom Brady technically never officially retired. He just didn't like that people took his narrative. He wanted to control it.
Exactly. Excuse me. I do think that was a big risk, as you were kind of pointing to, by playing them so much, and they really tried to push hard from all accounts in the match to get multiple goals. Um, I agree with John. I just don't know how that's going to impact the team moving forward. Who will have to step up? We'll have to see. I mean, I would love to see this be a chance for that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, would as an opportunity to maybe get up on the roster a little bit higher, get some more playing time, maybe have more chances at scoring. But they're totally different kind of players. Um, I just don't know how you can replace a captain level player like Owenby um, right before your season starts.
You can't. That's the question. That's what we saw personally. I saw last year when these
Yeah.
players are out. They didn't really replace them. I'm not, and I think this year the roster's built a lot different, and a lot better, so they can recover from this going down. But we ultimately have to see how it happens. See what happens against El Paso, who had a solid match this past weekend for them. So, can I think Lou City is going to be fine, but that question still remains out there.
Yeah. We'll just have to see. I do want to highlight the defensive efforts, particularly goalkeeper Lass and his critical saves that were mentioned in some of the recaps. Really seems like he was able to keep one Knox at bay for the massive majority of the game. Uh, but I think this defensive core of this team is going to be what is going to be the headliner, the unit that pushes them higher into the table, and what makes this team be as successful as possible. As much as I love the offense, I think now with Ownby out, there's a strong chance that they could struggle moving forward. I think they should have enough to beat El Paso, but I thought that last year, then El Paso came into their place and embarrassed them 3-0 when I was there. So, Wilson Harris, pressure's on you, my friend, to be the attacking prowess now. And I hope they
It's
can
been on
either have
him.
somebody. Well, it
It's
has,
been on
but
him.
he didn't have the backup.
Owen B. Yeah, he had the help of Owen B, but it's been on him. It's on Elijah Winder. It's on Jansen Williams. Like, who steps up?
Right.
It's been Harris. Harris has been the number one. It's now who steps up to replace Owen B's presence is what I say it is.
Yeah. So who's going to step up into that role? That will be the question rolling around Louisville as we move into the regular season. John, before we move on past Lou City, I do want to talk about their new kits. We kind of mentioned them earlier. They went with the bold choice of these past kits, drawing on the connection to the club's history with the golden hoops. I think that's what everybody kept calling them. The golden bands like that are on the like bourbon barrels. Um,
It's an Adidas template. You
yes,
can you can read whatever Lou City is saying. They are Adidas template kit. So many Adidas teams use this like hoop pattern or this
right.
like ascending hoop pattern. Yes, they can connect a reason to it, but it pays homage to the 17-18 teams that won the cup.
Yep.
It's their 10th anniversary. That's kind of why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Not been
Both kids
received
having
well
that
by
special
others.
patch on it.
It's not been received by others across the league because it is a little weird that Lou City, who's kind of leaned heavy into this like purple, gray, and black type thing, have this like gold and white kit. But
Well, gold used to be one of their colors. Like when they were playing at the Louisville Slugger Field, that was one of their colors. They had gold in the logo. So I think that was part of it, to show that connection to the colors.
I
But
know
also
that
the
I'm saying what
championships.
everyone else says.
No, I got you. And I'm just saying, like, I like the connection. I think it's a good callback, especially in your 10th year. They're not going to bring out the gold kits all the time. I was interested that wasn't the third kit though. And I'll be interested to see what the third kit is. And dear God, I hope they don't make us wait until the very last match like they did last year.
I don't know necessarily if they need a third kit. Not every team needs 3 kits in a season.
I really feel like I read somewhere that there would be a third kit at some point. Oh, now I'm going to have to find that.
Also, what they were saying.
Blue City's third kit will be revealed later during the 2024 season. That was from the press release. So, I do want to throw the question out to everyone else that's watching the show. What were your thoughts on the Blue City kit? Thumbs up, thumbs down, loved it, hated it, all of that. But John, kind of overall, your thoughts on the white and gold kit: positive, negative, indifferent.
I like it. It's not the color schemes aren't great for me. I would have loved if they could maybe do this old logo on the kit, but I would say it's like a 7. Maybe a 6.
I'll take a 7 from kind of what you had said. I really like it. I think it's a nice throwback kind of kit. I would give it an 8 because I was feeling really positive about it. Now, the other kit though, the purple, the main kit, we'll call it the present. I think it's what we call the present day kit or whatever. I'm not as big of a fan of that one. To me, it kind of gives me like Nashville vibes with like the kind of sound wave design within the pattern. If you zoom in, it's kind of what it looks like. It's just like a little wave pattern, black waves on a purple kit.
It's supposed to be like tearing, I believe it was.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
I think so. Is what. Let me look. But I like them overall. They're clean. They got the black adds a good accent, so it's not just like a plain black kit. But overall, personally, I do like them.
Yeah, I'm not as big on the purple ones. I really liked the ones last year a lot, even though they were, again, kind of standard issue Adidas kits. But I really liked the ones last year. These purple ones are just okay, in my opinion. I don't think they look the best overall for me. I would give them a 7.
I
Maybe
like
a
them. I
six
give
and a
them an
half.
8.
Oof, okay, so we're just on opposite sides on that one then.
But
for all those, well, no, I gave the other one an 8. You gave this one an 8. So we're on the whatever.
Okay.
But for all those watching, comment down in the chat on whatever platform you're on, Facebook, X, or YouTube, what you would grade out these Lou City kits. And then, John, I think this is the last thing on our list. Oh, now I lost my notes. Where are we at here? Haha. U.S. women's team. They had a great run last week. They beat Canada, where I had to fully admit of being wrong, which was great, and my reverse psychology worked. Let's go.
They beat Canada in arguably the game that should not have been played.
Why do you say that? Because of the rain?
Did you see the field? Did you see the field? Did you see how they scored their first goal? That's not when you have
like almost a week.
They did a back pass. A Canadian defender did a back pass and it hit a puddle. It literally just stopped.
I saw. I remember seeing earlier today. There were some highlights on Twitter that I saw very briefly, just reminding us of how the ball just would move like that much, like 6 inches at a time.
There was literally a point where they were like battling in the midfield, kind of towards Canada's net, and it was literally they were trying to move the ball and it was not moving. Like you just had to come up on each other to get it was just not moving at all. That is a terrible way to have two great teams clash with that. and it was just the field was so soaked, and I guess it's because they were in San Diego, and they're like, oh, it doesn't rain hard in San Diego. They just were not prepared to delay the game at all or anything. It that should not have been played. It was a good game. It went way late. It went to penalties, but it should not have been played in that condition.
Well, I mean, both teams have to play on the field, right? Both teams were affected by it. They both did what they could. It went all the way to penalty, so I don't think Canadian fans have too much to complain about. You gave a heck of an effort. Alyssa
Here's the
Nair
thing.
actually
Here's
scored
the
a
thing.
penalty and made all the
She
saves.
does that
Yes.
all the time. She does that all
Yeah,
the time.
it's
She did
still
that in the World
impressive.
Cup. It's not a matter of playing the game. It's a matter of player safety.
Agreed.
Because if the ball doesn't behave like you want, that's how you get injuries.
But it's the same thing with what was it Real Salt Lake with their snow game. Like
No, the
it's
snow was
just
not
it's
affecting the ball that much.
yeah, but your ligaments are tighter when it's cold. You can't explode as fast when it's cold or wet like that. Like
That's slightly different than physically like not having grip or not being able to pass the ball.
I mean, both teams were playing on the same field. Like it's even. It's not like Canada was
It's
stuck
not a
in
matter of
mud.
being it's no. I'm not arguing that US had an advantage. It's a safety thing for everybody. It's a downgrade of the game for everybody. It's not a matter of it went to someone's advantage. It's a safety thing for players.
I mean, I get
Yeah, the
it, but
US
like,
won it.
what
Player
would they
safety
have
should be
done?
priority over entertainment, should be priority over anything. So you
Of
shouldn't be
course.
struggling player safety.
No, I'm not shrugging player safety, but like they played the game. Like I can't do anything about USWNT.
I
I don't
know
have
that's
them
why
on.
I'm saying that's why I said they shouldn't have played the game. It should have been delayed. We were robbed of
Was
an even
there
better game.
was there a game before it? I can't remember.
I I think Brazil versus Mexico was a little before, but like the rain had happened in between the matches.
Got it. Got it. Because that's what I was going to wonder. Like, what was that sequence? What order did things happen in? But I think you got me there. Um, Nonetheless, Team USA moved on to take on. Oh, what we got here? Oh, we have update. Hold on. I can't see that very well. I'm blind. Hold on. Full screen. Um,
This is old.
yeah, that's from the 7th.
For those listening, there's a post by Benton on here from the March 7th about the kits.
Yeah.
Because they released on the 8th tomorrow or the next day after that.
Yeah.
But yes, they made it to the final. The final was very well fought. Haran got that goal right before the half. Overall, the final was not great, in my opinion.
Dang it. That was going to be my whole thing.
It
Because,
was
like,
it. I
just
don't
hold
know if it
on.
was just. I don't think it was home. I just think the players were not. Is the preseason for most of these players. I think it was just them getting back into it. They was getting a little gassed. They all played well. I think just that goal kind of. I don't know. It just felt like they weren't all the way in it at times for both
Agreed.
sides. Some were playing it a little safe, that sort of thing. But the women still got the dub.
Yeah. And that was going to be my whole argument. Like, it was good that they won the championship. Congratulations. Their 15th all time CONCACAF tournament championship, for whatever that may mean. We have been the massively dominant team in CONCACAF for generations at this point. So it's another piece of hardware. Such a pivotal role as the captain of the critical goals throughout the tournament, especially in the final. I think she is the key moving forward. I mean, wow, congratulations. That's a no-brainer statement. But I do think legitimately she is the key to make this engine keep moving. John, when you look at Haran's performance, what are your thoughts? Any kind of standout moments from this match or from the tournament that lead us to thinking what could happen in the Olympics later this summer?
No, not anything that could happen in the Olympics. I think this is Haran trying to silence her critics and haters based on her comments about U.S. soccer fans in general. Because you got to remember, Haran is one of the very few women on that team that do not play in the United States. She plays in France with the Lions. And so she has that outside perspective on how it's like viewed in Europe and played in Europe outside and all that type of stuff. But I think this is her showing that she still cares and she still wants to win, and that some U.S. fans need to shut up, because it's kind of what her comments were directed towards. And it's like, we're going to be struggling. We're not going to be as dominant as we are before because the rest of the world is caught up. And that's okay. That's good. But it's not a matter of the U.S. being bad now. It's just a matter of everyone else catching up.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up that point with the her kind of silencing the critics, because I think that's an important thing to take away from this performance throughout the entire tournament. She has had a lot of criticisms. People have said, she's not going to be able to lead the team, and she's not going to be able to make the engine go. I kind of equate her role on this team to what I would like to see out of Jalen Howell on Racing Louisville. I would love to see those two players emulate each other's style to give Racing some more success on the field as well. But back with the national team, I also was impressed with Shaw's performance. She got the golden ball for the tournament's best player, and I think she facilitated as well as on her own. I think Shaw is going to be the one to watch as we move into futures. I think Haran will still lead for the Olympics, but then I think it will be Shaw's team to lead from there. John,
I don't think
thoughts on
Shaw is
Jaden?
leading. Shaw might be
No?
leading on the field. I don't think Shaw does not. I don't think it's going to go to her. I think if when Haran might step down, it might go to Rose Lavelle, then it might go to like Sophia Smith, Trinity Rodman, Amy
Rose
listen there.
Lavelle, they seem to be like a tag team. You know what I mean? Like, I think when one go, the other will as well.
Maybe, but I don't. Shaw is amazing and that sort of thing, but I don't see the captaincy passing to her as a type.
Maybe more of a Trinity Rodman then?
Trinity Rodman's still a little young. I see right now, if it was to pass anyone, I would say it'd be Alyssa Nair or Naomi Guillermo. Crystal Dunn.
I definitely think Nair especially would be the next one. I mean, just distant performance outside of that Mexico match. She was stellar the entire tournament. As I mentioned, scoring the penalty against Canada as well as making all the saves. I think you're right on there, John. I think it is her role as captain beyond when Haran moves on. I think Alyssa Nair is positioning herself to be better and more well respected than even like Hope Solo and some of the past goalkeepers that the women's national team has had. John, right now, where do you think she ranks kind of amongst the best all time on the women's side?
How many have won a World Cup?
It's a great
I'm
question.
sorry. That's the standard for. Yeah, she's really good and she's really solid, but like Hope Solo had a great peak. that sort of thing. All of them had great peaks. I don't think Alyssa Nair is at that echelon yet. There's been questions or debate about who is goalkeeper one, and I think she's silenced that now.
Oh yeah, by far.
But I do not think like she's in that upper echelon yet until really this is her first major one. I don't think she has an Olympic gold. She might
Not
have
yet.
won. Let me look at this.
Not yet. She might get one later this year.
Maybe. No, she's 35. She's won the World Cup. Yeah, she's won the World Cup twice.
So she does have World Cups.
She's up there, I would have to say. This is the thing. She was back up to Hope Solo in 2015. She was she won.
Well,
yeah, so yeah, she's up there for sure. You had me all confused because I was like, Alyssa Nair has been on the U.S. team for a while. I think the question is now, does she keep it at her age?
Right.
She's 35.
Who's the backup? Do you remember? Are you looking at the roster right now by chance?
I do not know off the top of my head right now.
You're good. Not as important to the rest of the conversation. Last kind of thing from the match I wanted to talk about was Coach Kilgore's tactics and kind of how things that we can take away from this tournament moving into the Olympics and beyond. I think they're outside of that Mexico match, which is proven to just be a fluke. Who? Sorry.
It's Casey Murphy's the backup.
Casey Murphy, yes. When we're looking tactically here at Coach Kilgore and the rest of the staff, John, what are your thoughts on how tactically they approach this tournament and what we can look forward to moving forward? Because I liked what I saw for the most part. That Mexico match had me really, really nervous. I did not enjoy seeing struggle like that.
We will have our actual coach by then.
That's right.
So that's the thing. That's the biggest question. Is Kilgore just relaying messages, or is she actually coaching? And I think that's what we will see come Olympic time, if it was a relay or actually coaching. Because we know Emma Hayes had some. I don't think so.
No?
She is a. Based on what we've seen and the tactical changes we've seen since Emma Hayes' appointment.
Good point.
I genuinely think that Emma Hayes is doing. She could be coaching during the matches, but Emma Hayes is telling her, this is the 11 I want to use, this is the 18, that sort of thing. I want them to do this during set pieces, that during that. I genuinely think she has some influence on this because I don't think she wants to walk into a team and completely change them.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think she wants to completely change them, but
that's why I think Emma Hayes is the coach.
Yeah.
Kilgore is a caretaker.
I agree. I think that's the approach that the what am I trying to say? The women's national team will have moving forward. But I do think that some of the changes and some of the tactics were from the top down. I think this is a good stretch. I think they're Hayes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, from Emma Hayes.
Okay, you were saying that you saw Kilgore was coaching. Okay. I think Jimmie just went into.
Sorry about that. And we're back. What was I going to say? Yeah, I think Emma Hayes was giving instructions from the top down to Kilgore, and that's kind of what I wanted to discuss. Like, are these tactics Kilgore's? Are they Hayes? Where are we at? And that's exactly where I'm at with you. I'm 100% on board with that. Because I think that if Kilgore was doing things herself, I think things might have looked different. but I think this particular roster and this particular set plays and so forth seem to be very much in line with what Emma Hayes has done in other spots, and I think it would just be too easy for her to do something like that. Start putting things in place now to get ready for that run later on. Yep. Want that this was a good tournament for us. Mexico match. I think that we've put ourselves in a good position to move forward into Olympic qualifiers and into or not qualify Olympic
We're already
play.
qualified.
Yeah, that was my fault. I missaid that. And my internet is really bad, so I apologize, everyone. But when we're looking at the roster, I am interested to see who is going to be on that Olympic roster moving forward. Do we see like how many other players do they can they have? 2, 3? Do you know exactly what the number is, John?
There's no age restrictions.
I thought there was. Was that for something
Not
else?
for the women's. That's only for the men's.
Oh, okay. So then, from the returners from this roster and from Cup, how many do you think we'll see versus new players on the roster?
Throw the World Cup roster out the window. I say you go off this
100%.
Gold Cup roster.
Throwing it away.
And see how this you see how this Gold Cup roster does. They did good. The Olympic field is not as deep as it could be based on how European qualifiers worked out. Stick with the momentum. Go with what's working. That's all I kind of had to say.
Agreed. And I think that's going to be unfortunate for someone like a Savannah DeMillo because I'm not sure if she's going to get a chance on the Olympic roster. If she does, it may just be as a training player. I'm not for sure we'll be able to do or if she'll be able to make the full roster. Do you any thoughts on that?
I don't know. We'll have to see come that. Like, this is a whole shift with moving to Hayes, who's very much appearing like she wants to win and actually win now. So to see it would be nice to see Sav on that roster, but she's got to earn that spot. Like, this is the World Cup type thing. The Netflix doc, it talks about all these players. They know they have to earn that spot, so she's got to earn it.
Indeed, she does have to earn it, and I hope to continue to see what she can do and if she can crack back into the roster and just kind of where we stand on that. John, but with all of that out of the way, any final topics or anything else you want to talk about today, sir?
No, sir, I'm all good.
All right. We will be back on Wednesday for another great episode of the Bluegrass Soccercast. But until then, make sure you're following us on all our social media platforms, Twitter or X, as I should start calling it, YouTube, TikTok. All of those handles are at BG Soccercast. We have a Bias Coffee account. It lives right over my shoulder over here. If you're looking to support the channel in that way, we're still trying to raise up some funds to maybe send John up to Vermont, even though it's looking a little dimmer and dimmer each day. Sorry, buddy. But we appreciate any and all donations. They always go to help continue to grow our show here. Also, make sure that you're listening to our show on all our podcasting platforms, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. And when you're on there or on our YouTube page, make sure you're following us, clicking the bell, just so that you don't miss any part of any future episodes. But John, with all of that out of the way, sir, I will see you and everybody else at home on the next one.